Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the New York Jets at the Oakland Raiders in their Week 8 matchup played November 1st, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, about midway through, Nick Folk hit a 40-yard field goal to make it 3-0 Jets over the Raiders. Of course, that was with about 7 minutes left in the first. 4 minutes earlier, just 4 minutes into the game, Ryan Fitzpatrick would leave due to injury, and so it was Geno Smith that led the Jets to that field goal. Of course, that was the first possession of the game, so he took over midway through that drive. So the Jets lose their starter in the first possession. They end up with a field goal as Geno finished off the drive. But now, with 2 minutes left in the first quarter, Derek Carr hits Andre Holmes for a 5-yard touchdown. Sebastian Janikowski adds the extra point, and the Raiders are in the lead, 7-3. So that was the score after one. Then in the second quarter, with about 9.5 minutes left before halftime, Derek Carr hits Michael Crabtree for a 36-yard touchdown. Janikowski adds the extra point, and it was 14-3, Oakland over New York. Then with about 5 minutes still left in the first half, Derek Carr throws his third touchdown of the game. This one is second one to Andre Holmes, a 49-yard touchdown pass. Janikowski kicks the extra point. It was 21-3, Raiders over the Jets. Then with about less than a minute left before halftime, Nick Folk hit his second field goal of the game, a 38-yarder, and it was now 21-6. So that was the score at halftime. Then in the third quarter, on their first possession of the second half, Derek Carr throws his fourth touchdown of the game. This one a 59-yarder to Tywan Jones. And it was 28-6 after the extra point by Janikowski. So then with about 7 minutes still left in the third, Eric Decker caught a 4-yard touchdown from Geno Smith. Folk added the extra point. And it was now a 15-point game with the score 28-13 as the Jets trailed. Then, about a minute and a half later, Janikowski hit a 52-yard field goal with about 6 minutes left in the third, and it was 31-13, Raiders over the Jets. So that was the score after 3. Then in the fourth quarter, about 2 minutes in, Janikowski hits a 47-yarder, and it was 34-13 as the Raiders were now up by 21 points. But then with about 8.5 left to play, Geno Smith threw a second touchdown of the game. This one to Kellen Davis as he made it look like he was going to run, and at the last second he threw it to the back of the end zone for the 1-yard touchdown pass. A good catch by Davis. And with the extra point by Folk, it was a 14-point game, 34-20. The Raiders would hold on to win this one. And Oakland is now 4-3. They are one game above 500. They have a winning record here in 2015. It's actually the first time they've had a winning record this late in the season in the last 4 years. So the Raiders 2-2 at home. The Jets 2-2 on the road. They are also 4-3 on the season. The Raiders with a big win against a tough defense, and they really cemented themselves in the playoff picture as contenders. You can no longer call them pretenders after winning this game against the Jets. And in this game, Derek Carr, a huge performance, 23 for 36, 333 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Geno Smith in relief of Fitzpatrick, who went down less than 4 minutes into this game. He was 4 for 5 when he left with 46 yards, but Geno Smith took over 27 for 42, 265 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and Geno was actually the leading rusher for the Jets with 2 carries for 34 yards. Chris Ivory held to just 17 yards off of 15 carries as the Raiders were shutting him down. Of course, they had that big lead, and they really stopped running the ball once they were down 21-3, and Ivory really didn't get that many touches, although when he's only averaging about a yard per carry, of course, you're not going to keep giving him the rock, especially with the huge deficit that they had to overcome, which they did not. And for the Raiders, Latavius Murray, 20 carries for 113 yards, as they were doing it on the ground and, of course, through the air. Of course, Derek Carr was kicking butt and taking names. And he was doing it with some help from Michael Crabtree, who had 7 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. Jones had that 59-yard touchdown. That was his only reception of the game. Andre Holmes had 2 receptions for 54 yards, and they were both touchdowns, as he had that 49-yard touchdown, and he also had a 5-yard touchdown catch, as Andre Holmes does nothing but catch touchdowns. And Amari Cooper, 5 receptions for 46 yards, and the fullback Marcel Reese, 3 receptions for 26 yards. And don't forget Seth Roberts, he had 1 reception for 21 yards. And for the Jets, Brandon Marshall, 9 receptions for 108 yards. He looked like he hurt his leg. Hopefully he's okay. You never like to see anybody get injured. But Curley, 4 receptions for 63 yards. Eric Decker, 6 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. Let me look at the kickers. Nick Folk, 2 for 2 on the extra points and the field goal. Sebastian Janikowski, 4 for 4 on the extra points, 2 for 3 on the field goals. Look at the defense. And for the Raiders, Khalil Mack had a sack, Autry had a sack, and Hayden had a sack. And Charles Woodson had an interception, his 5th of the year. He leads the league in interceptions. And with that interception, he is now in 5th place all-time in the all-time interception list, as he's a future Hall of Famer from the University of Michigan. The former Wolverine has had a very storied career in the NFL, and he is still playing at a peak performance. They said he leads the league in interception, and he's really the leader of that defense. Then we look at the first downs, 22 for the Jets, 21 for the Raiders. We look at third downs, 7 of 16 for New York, 43% converted. They went for it 3 times on 4th. They converted once for 33%. And for the Raiders, they were 4 of 10 on third down, 40% converted. We look at total net yards, 451 for the Raiders, 366 for the Jets. And on the ground, the Raiders netted 118 yards, the Jets 74 yards. And through the air, passing, 333 for the Raiders. Carr was not sacked at all in this game. And for the Jets, 292 netted, as they allowed 3 sacks for a loss of 19 yards in this game. And then we look at the penalties, 6 penalties each. The Raiders penalized 61 yards. The Raiders penalized 40 yards. And we look at the red zone, 1 for 1 for the Raiders, 2 for 2 for the Jets, both 100%. And the time of possession, 30 minutes, 38 seconds for the Oakland, 29 minutes, 22 seconds for New York. So the Raiders jumping out to that big lead early on, as they got on top of them, and they were just shutting them down. They're doing a tremendous job with their run defense, and it was excellent. And the Jets are one of the top running teams, even without Fitzpatrick. Now, you can say, oh, well, Fitzpatrick went down. But Geno actually played a pretty good game, except for that interception that, Woodson picked him off the one time. But other than that, Geno didn't really play a bad game. It was just a matter of the Raiders were just playing excellent defense, and they were really shutting down what's been one of the top running teams this year. And Ivory has been one of the top backs this year, but he cannot get anything going. The Raiders just all over him. Ended up with Geno being their leading rusher, and they just abandoned the run once they fell down in that hole, as they were down 21-6 at halftime. They were down 21-3 before that field goal made it 21-6. And then, they did score a couple touchdowns, one in the third, one in the fourth, but they were playing catch up. They were just airing it out at that point. They totally abandoned their run. Geno threw the ball 42 times. And if you're going to ask Geno Smith to throw the ball 42 times, well, you're in trouble. So the Raiders doing an excellent job on defense, and they're also doing a great job of a balanced attack on offense. Murray over 100 yards rushing, and of course Derek Carr with a monster game, 4 touchdowns, 300 plus yards, 333 to be exact. Carr just having an amazing year. The Raiders are looking really good, and they are in contention for sure. And as it stands right now, Oakland in second place in the AFC West. And they're going to be rooting for the Packers on Sunday Night Football to hand the Broncos their first loss. As the Raiders are, if the Broncos lose, they'll just be 2 games out of first. You never know. And the Broncos have been winning it solely on defense, so you never know what could happen. The Raiders, they keep playing this way, they might just be able to make a run for that division title, although the Broncos are going to have to lose some games. They're going to have to beat them, actually, if they're going to do that. But right now, 4-3, definitely something to celebrate at the halfway point that the Raiders are above 500. And the Jets also at 4-3, although this is actually kind of a big loss for them after losing to the Patriots, for them to now lose this game on the road to the Raiders when they had a chance. They needed to keep pace there in the East, a tough division, but the Raiders had other ideas, especially Derek Carr, and who knew it would be Crabtree. You would have thought it would have been Amari Cooper, but Crabtree with the big day, as Crabtree and Cooper both are looking like they might be able to go over 1,000 yards. That would be quite the feat for the passing game there in Oakland, but they do it with that balanced attack, as you saw with Murray, as he's been running the ball pretty good. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.